Hi guys, so we got a prism over here, and I've already prepared it for you guys on the XY axis. Your front view, top view and left side view is given, and you'll see that it's got a cutting plane running through the front view. I've already included all my numbering, so in my top view where I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, I've also already applied the cut in this actual object so that you can see the cut in the top view. I've labeled it A and B, and it's already been projected across and onto the left side view. So has B. Okay, now remember that this point A and B, or these points A and B, will be that one point representing 2 points on the XY axis, and therefore when I project it across along the XY axis and where it meets up with the A and B from the top view, I can go and plot the point for my left side view. Okay, so I think this is pretty basic by now. What we need to realize is that we're not going to see this top portion over here, because when I do look at it from this angle over here, I do want to see the cut surface, and that is exactly what I have over there. Alright, the cut surface. Now the question makes it a little bit more complicated. The question throws in the fact that it has a square based prism, but as a whole. Okay, and I can see this as a blind hole. The question says that it has from corner to corner distance of 40, which means we can simply go and take from the middle. I've already found the middle of the actual hexagon. We are sharing the same center for the hexagon and the hole, so I'm going to go 20 up, put a point, and 20 down along that center line, and I'm going to use my 45-degree to go and find these points exactly. Okay, now we don't know whether that's going to make it inside here. Let's see. Now I'm constructing this. I should have been constructing the other two as well, because if we look at the front view is cutting through my entire object, but it cuts through the base points here between 1 and 6 and 1 and 2. So top view shows to me between 1 and 2 and 1 and 6. I have 2 of these points being cut. Now my cut line also cuts through the hole. Now I've got to show where this hole is going to be in my front view. So I simply go and project all this information up to my front view. And just to be cautious, they've given me a certain distance that I can use. It's going to be 60 millimeters deep. That's why it is a blind hole. And straight away I can see when I join my two lines where I'm going to be cutting through my square based hole. Okay, so the front view will always represent the entire shape unless otherwise specified by the question. And in this case here, I also have hidden detail line going through here. Now make sure that you'll be able to get your hidden detail to cross your cutting line, so it gives you a clear indication as to where you're going to be projecting from to your left side view. Okay, so we haven't numbered this yet, but now this is exactly why I didn't draw this portion of my top view in solid line, because if you look clearly, my cutting plane goes through the base as well. the base of my hole. So I'm literally going to be taking, as I have done for the hexagonal shape, project there, and I have a point there and a point there, at which I've got to say fairly well, look, this portion over here does not exist anymore. It's been taken away. So I'll only be left with this from the top view. Right. So let's go and show this now in our left side view. What I did with my hexagonal prism is I went and numbered it. So I'd suggest the same here. I got up to 6, so we're going to continue 7. And A, B becomes C and D. Do them separate and label them differently so that you don't get confused between the two shapes. And also note that I have actually done the two shapes separately as well. And therefore C and D is represented over here. Eight and 10. Nine. And we have 7, which has obviously been cut away just like number 1 was completely. Alright, so let's project this across. Now you might have noticed I've put little plus signs on here. The plus signs belong to the hexagonal prism. Therefore, any projection that doesn't hold a plus sign belongs to, that's right, the square hole, the blind hole. Little tips and tricks to help you visualize and find these points a little bit faster when you're pressed for time in an exam or a test, for instance. Okay, and I'm going to still number them. Numbering is good practice. Helps you identify all the things that you need. 7 and 9. Okay, now I can number all these numbers at the top as well, but I've left that for the hexagonal prism. Now remember, when I have a cut line, I have cut points. I've cut a line going through my cut point 4, which is already projected across. Now I'm going to focus on the square hole alone because I have this shape here already. So it goes through cut point 9, it goes through cut point 8 and 10, and it goes through the base at C and D. If I had to project C and D across and project C and D up to there, it makes my life a lot easier. I'm going to offer you the advice to withhold on your labeling slightly, not like what I've done. Reason being is you might be ruining your line work when you're going to be drawing your cross hatching. Okay, C and D. We have 8 and 10 that still needs to be projected across. So we go find 8 and 10. There's 10. And number 8. We also have number 9. Over there like that. Alright, so if you think about it, the cut points of the square hole would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I have the points, I simply join them. And now I've got the parameter in which I can go and do my cross-hatching. Note that I'm not done yet, because when I'm looking at the shape from this side over here, just my eyeball, I'm looking into number 9. Number 9 has a top and a bottom, because if you look at my front view, it has a top and a bottom. Yet we've cut away the top portion, but it still has a top portion. So there's a cut point 9 and a bottom 9, a base point 9. So that was 9, the cut point 9, and the base point 9 would be over here. Okay, if I followed 9, 9 would have been on this line over here. Therefore, this would also be a point to remember. So therefore, I'll have a solid line going through there. And now let's go and include all the hidden detail bits. Remember that in my hexagonal part, I had number 4 when looking from this angle over here. Number 4 and 4 in the background. So it is done in hidden detail. Please note that you leave a little space, because you have a line there already, and you leave a little space and then you continue your hidden detail. Otherwise, it looks like you're actually extending this line into this space over here, which makes the graphic communication incorrect. You're telling the reader, or the person that's actually reading this graphic information, a way different story. And we do the same on this side over here. Okay. 4 is done. I'm going to focus on the hexagon. 5 and 5 will be connected. 6 and 6 connected. 3 and 3 is connected. 2 and 2 is connected. The preference line was a solid or a final borderline, and that solves our issue with the prism, the hexagonal prism. Now for the square prism, the hole, the blind hole, we still have a little bit to go. So if I see over here 8, or let's make it 10, and 10 exists over here, the portion that we can't see, and we also see 10 and 10 over here. Okay, so that's the cut point 10 and the base point 10 that we can't see because it gets cut off before it gets to there. So this portion over here will be in hidden detail. Now for 8, the same way, 8 and 8, there's a base corner 8, the bottom that we can't see when I'm looking into the hole here. Alright, it gets cut off before it gets to 8. There it is there, it gets cut off before it gets to 8. Therefore we can't see 8, it's broader than C and D. Alright, so I've got a base point 8 and a cut point 8. So I'm going to have more hidden detail line here as well. When you do your hidden detail here, please make sure that you then clearly touch the corners. I'm going to do the verticals first. And also your hidden detail must form a corner. But now look at the trick here. We again don't want to extend this line over here, so we leave a space. And I'll make a clear corner with spaces before I start my hidden detail over there. Right. Is that all my hidden detail needed? Well, let's follow our lines. We've said that 9 and 9 exists, 8 or 10 and 10, 8 and 8, and C and D and C and D, which is on the base of the square. Alright, so we've got all our hidden detail. What I'm going to do now is going to rely on my little tips and tricks. Remember, I've got this line over here. I'm going to go ahead and cross hatch the cut surface. I'm going to slide this line onto my existing line so that I've got an equal interval, and note I'm going right through the hidden detail. This is the only section, geometric solids or solid geometry section will only have, it's the only section that has hidden detail behind the cross-hatching. Other sections such as machine drawing, the cross-hatching takes preference, and you will not show hidden detail behind the cross-section, or cross-hatching for that matter. Right, now that we're almost done over here, my left side view is complete. Okay, now that I have my left side view complete, I know that when I look from this side over here, I'm not going to be able to see the true shape of the sectioned surface, okay, because I'm looking at it not from a 90-degree angle. I now will have to look at it from a 90-degree angle. I'm going to change the colors that I'm working with. We know that this here isn't at any specific angle. You can see I'm using my 45-degree line, and it doesn't add up to be 45 degrees. When I take my 60-degree angle, however, let's see, no, I didn't get lucky this time around, so I'm going to make use of a skill called sliding set squares. So I line up my one set square like so. I use this set square, plant it firmly underneath the 60-30 degree set square that I have over here, and I slide it along, and now I have a parallel line. Okay, so you might notice that we might make this space available for our true shape of section. I'm going to just shift this along slightly because I need it a little bit higher. Okay, and I'm going to start it over here. Okay, and I'm going to make use of the sliding set square technique to be able to project at a 90-degree surface. Okay, so you can just go back into the video, pause it when you need to, replay what I've had shown you. Okay, so I'm focusing on the hexagonal cut points first, the hexagonal prisms cut points, and then I'm going to focus on the blind hole, the square blind hole. Okay, like so. Okay, take that away. This will help me not get confused. So if I'm going to be projecting off my front view, where do I get my measurements from? I'll typically get my measurements from my top view then. Remember, project off my front view and find my measurements from my top view. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created another reference line, which is also going to be an x2 y2 axis. Remember, we have an xy and an x1 y1 axis. Now I need an x2 y2 axis, and when I project off my front view, I can simply go and get the measurements over here in my top view. So I know that I'm going to be having 2 and 3, which are going to be, well, let's go ahead and label these. A and B is going to be over here. 2 and 6, 3 and 5, and 4. 4, if I take a measurement of 4 from my reference line, my xy axis, to number 4, I get 37 in this case. And I know that 4 and 1 would have been the same, but now I don't have a number 1. Just remember that, because you are going to be making a true shape of the section, not of anything else. Okay, so 37. Okay, that's cut point 4. I know 2 and 3 will be 10 millimeters away, because I know that this distance here for both of them were 10 millimeters away. So I'm going to go plot them for 2 and 3. That's number 3. Number 2. We have B and A that need to be found as well. So I go measure up how far A is according to the top view. 10, 20. I'd say that's about 20 mils for A. Go to my true shape of section. I measure off my 20 for A, and then measure my B distance away from the XY axis. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 54. Right. And now that I have all the points, if you were cutting it with a knife, the portion the knife would be touching would obviously be going through from this point through to there, and from this point through to there. So now I need to go find the next. I'm going to be working with the next shape now. Sliding set squares, place it so, move it slightly away, and then go from number 9, which was 37. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get all the cut points for the blind hole projected to my true shape of section. And now I can go and apply my cross hatching. Remember the little trick that we had? Make sure that you're touching one side and the other, and line it up with your little line over there. Making sure that your cross hatching and your sectioning will be at equal intervals, and you will therefore also not be drawing it within the square hole or the blind hole, because the knife, the proverbial knife that we spoke about a little bit earlier, does not cut through the empty air bubble, that blind hole area. It touches the surface of the hexagonal prism, which is a solid, in all the hatched areas as shown in my true shape of section. Right, and then you will go ahead and go and label this true shape of section. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope it is quite helpful. Thanks for watching.